You think you've got it all figured out, don't you? Walking around with that little smirk, pretending you see through the bullshit like you're different from the rest of them. But you're not. You're just like the others. Soft, confused, weak. And the worst part, you actually believe the lies they fed you. You swallowed them whole, let them carve their truths into your bones until they became your own. You really think the world runs on fairness, on kindness. Number, it runs on blood, on leverage, on who has the stomach to do what others won't. And you're sitting there still hoping someone will hand you a break, hoping the world will suddenly wake up and see how much you deserve, like it's all just been some clerical error, like the universe will correct itself and hand you the life you think you're owed. Let me tell you something, kid. Nobody's coming to save you. Not your friends, not your family, not some cosmic force that supposedly keeps things balanced. You're on your own. And the sooner you accept that, the better. But you won't, will you? You'll keep pretending. Keep playing along. Keep letting them pull the strings while you dance. Convincing yourself that if you just keep smiling, if you just keep your head down and work hard, everything will fall into place. And what happens when it doesn't? What happens when they take that last piece of dignity you've been clutching onto and laugh while they toss it into the fire? You'll break. That's what. Just like all the others before you. I've seen it too many times to count. The moment of realization. The second they finally get it. When they understand that all the sacrifices, all the pain, all the years spent biting their tongue meant absolutely nothing. That no one was keeping score. That every inch of respect they thought they'd earned was never theirs to begin with. And by the time they figure it out, it's too late. But you still have time. I can see it in your eyes. That flicker. That tiny ember of doubt trying to claw its way to the surface. The part of you that's sick of being stepped on. That's sick of being ignored, overlooked, treated like an afterthought. It's there, buried under all the useless morals they shove down your throat. The question is, are you ready to dig it out? Are you ready to finally stop playing by their rules? Because here's the thing. There are only two kinds of people in this world. Those who take and those who are taken from. And right now, you're in the second category. You can tell yourself otherwise. Tell yourself you've got control. That you make your own choices. But deep down, you know it's a lie. You can feel it, can't you? The weight pressing down on you. The exhaustion of constantly giving, and getting nothing in return. You think they respect you? They don't. They respect fear. They respect power. They respect the ones who aren't afraid to get their hands dirty. And you're still clinging to the idea that goodness means something. That if you're kind enough, patient enough, strong enough, they'll finally see your worth. Let me tell you how that story ends. They take everything you have and leave you with nothing. And the best part, they won't even look back. They won't even feel guilty. Because that's how the world works. That's how it's always worked. It's a game. A rigged game where the ones who know the rules bleed the ones who don't try. And the second you stop being useful, the second you stop playing your part, they'll throw you away like trash. So tell me, are you ready to stop being trash? Are you ready to finally claw your way out of the hole they put you in? Because I'll let you in on a little secret. There's only one way to win this game. One way to make sure they never step on you again. You take what you want. You stop asking for permission. You stop waiting for approval. You stop looking for scraps and start setting the table yourself. And if they don't like it, if they try to fight back, you make them regret it. You make them wish they had never underestimated you. 'Cause that's the only language they understand. Pain, consequence, loss. You don't need to be liked. You don't need to be loved. You need to be respected. And if respect comes at the cost of being feared, then so be it. Because people don't cross the ones they fear. They don't laugh at them behind their backs. They don't take from them without thinking twice. They step aside. They lower their gaze. They learn their place. That's power. That's control. And you've been walking through life without either. But that can change. All it takes is one decision. One moment where you finally decide you're done playing the fool. Done waiting for the world to recognize your worth. Done letting people walk all over you. All it takes is one act. One sharp, decisive act to show them you are not the person they thought you were. Oh, they won't like it. They'll fight it. They'll call you selfish, cruel, insane. They'll beg you to go back to the way you were. But do you really want that? Do you really want to go back to being the version of yourself they were comfortable with? The version they could control? I didn't think so. So, go ahead. Keep sitting there, pretending you don't hear me. Keep telling yourself you can wait a little longer. That you can endure a little more. But know this every second you waste is another second they win. Another second they tighten the leash. Another second you let yourself be owned. And before you know it, you'll wake up one day and realize the game is over. And you lost. So what's it going to be? Are you ready to be feared? Ready to make them choke on the laughter they threw at your back? Ready to show them that the person they thought they were dealing with never actually existed? Then do it. Burn the mask. Tear down the walls. Let the thing you've been bearing all these years finally crawl its way to the surface. Stop pretending to be something you're not. Stop clinging to the chains they shackled you with. Because the only difference between a victim and a victor is the moment they decide to stop being one. You're still here, still breathing. That means there's still a choice, still a chance to rewrite the script they handed you. But do you have the stomach for it? Do you have the will to do what needs to be done? Most people don't. That's why they stay stuck, trapped in the same cycle, running in place like rats in a maze. They tell themselves they'll change. They'll stand up for themselves. Next time, always next time. But next time never comes, does it? Because the truth is, they like the cage. It's comfortable, it's familiar. And you're scared of what happens when you step outside of it. I can see it. That hesitation, that flicker of doubt, of guilt. You're still clinging to some broken piece of yourself. Still whispering that maybe, just maybe, if you wait, someone will come along and make things right. They won't. No one's coming. No one ever was. They were happy to watch you suffer. They let you bleed, let you drown, let you crumble under the weight of it all while they stood there and did nothing. And yet, here you are, still making excuses for them, still hoping for some grand moment of redemption, some scene where everything finally makes sense, and they look you in the eye and say, I was wrong. I see you now. I'm sorry. It won't happen. And even if it did, would it change anything? Would an apology erase the years they spent tearing you down? Would it undo the way they laughed at you, used you, treated you like you were disposable? Number, it wouldn't. So stop waiting for an apology that won't come. Stop holding on to the fantasy that one day they'll understand. They won't. They don't care. And they never did. You know what happens when you give people the benefit of the doubt? They take it as permission to keep walking all over you. They test you, push you, just to see how much you'll take. And you've taken too much. It should have ended the first time. The first insult, the first betrayal, the first moment they made you feel like you were worth less than them. That should have been enough. But no, you stayed. You forgave. You told yourself that if you just held on a little longer, if you just endured a little more, things would change. And now, look at you, sitting in the wreckage of their choices, wondering where it all went wrong. It went wrong when you let them believe there were no consequences. You want to know the difference between the ones who survive and the ones who don't? It's not strength. It's not intelligence. It's not even luck. It's knowing when to walk away, when to cut the rope, when to let people choke on their own mistakes, instead of giving them another chance to make you their punching bag. But you still hesitate, still clutch at the idea that maybe deep down they didn't mean it, that maybe they'll wake up one day and regret everything. Let me tell you what regret really is. It's a performance. It's the act they put on when they realize they lost control over you. When they see you slipping through their fingers and suddenly decide they miss you. They don't miss you. They miss what you gave them. They miss the way you made them feel important. The way you let them take from you without question. They miss the power they had over you. And now that it's gone, now that you finally started pulling away, they'll pretend. They'll put on the tears, the apologies, the empty promises of change. But it's all a game. A script they've perfected. A last-ditch effort to reel you back in before you realize the truth. They need you more than you ever needed them. And that's why they're afraid. Afraid of the moment you stop caring. Afraid of the day you wake up and realize you don't need their approval, their validation, their empty, meaningless love. That's the only real power you'll ever have over them. Indifference. You think rage is power? You think getting revenge will make you feel better? Number. That just means they still have a hold on you, that they still matter enough to make you act. Real power is when they become nothing to you. When you walk past them like they don't exist. When their name is just another sound in the background. When the things they did to you no longer have weight. That's what breaks them. Not your anger. Not your sadness. Your absence. So go ahead. Keep waiting. Keep hoping. Keep telling yourself that one day they'll understand. But every second you waste is a second you'll never get back. They stole enough from you. Don't let them steal any more. You ever watch an animal when it finally realizes it's been caged its whole life? There's this moment, this flicker of something deep in its eyes when it understands. When it sees the bars for what they are, sees the hands that fed it for what they were, just another part of the trap. And then the real fun begins. Because once something knows it's caged, once it knows it's been played, it stops being tame. That's you right now. The only question is, what are you gonna do with it? See, most people, they get that moment of realization and waste it. They panic, they rattle the bars, they scream, they cry, they beg. And guess what? The ones who locked them up, they love it. They watch, they listen, they drink it in like it's the sweetest sound they've ever heard. Because that's what they want. They want to see you thrash. They want to see you squirm. They want to know they still own a piece of you. So don't give them that satisfaction. Don't scream. Don't beg. Go quiet. Go cold. Make them wonder what's happening inside your head. Make them regret ever thinking they had you figured out. Because nothing is more terrifying to them than the moment they realize you're not playing along anymore. You know why silence scares people? Because it forces them to think, forces them to sit alone with the things they don't want to face. And people, they'll do anything to avoid that. They'll fill their lives with noise, with distractions, with people who are just as empty as they are, just to keep from hearing their own thoughts. And you're about to become the loudest silence they've ever heard. Let them sit with it. Let them feel it creeping in. Let them start to realize, little by little, that something is wrong. That something is different. That something is coming. And when the moment is right, when you decide to move to it without hesitation, no warning, no explanation, no room for them to stop you, because they will try. Oh, they will try. They'll throw every trick in the book at you. Guilt, lies, promises. They'll tell you they're sorry, that they didn't mean it, that things can go back to how they were before. But you and I both know that's not true. Things were never good. They were never fair. They were never built for you to win. And you don't go back to a rigged game. You flip the table. You walk away. And when you do, when you finally tear yourself out of the cycle they locked you into, they'll hate you for it. Not because you hurt them, not because you did anything wrong, but because they thought they had you. Because they thought you'd stay. Because they thought you were weak. But you're not weak, are you? Not anymore. And when they look at you again, when they finally see you for what you've become, for what they created, you'll see it. That same flicker in their eyes, that same moment of realization. They caged something they shouldn't have, and now it's free. And the best part, the part that will keep them awake at night, staring at the ceiling, their stomach twisting into knots, you won't even look back. No last words, no final explanation, no grand gesture to give them closure. Because closure is a kindness, and they don't deserve it. Let them rot in the silence you leave behind. Let them dig through the wreckage, trying to piece together where they went wrong. They won't find the answer, because the answer is simple. You finally saw them for what they were. Users, leeches, people who took and took and took, always assuming there was more left to give. But they were wrong. And now they'll have to live with the fact that they drained you dry, thinking you'd just crawl back, thinking you'd keep playing their game. But they forgot something. When you push someone too far, when you strip them down to nothing, sometimes they don't rebuild themselves the way they were before. Sometimes they come back sharper, colder, unrecognizable. That's you now. Not a victim, not the fool they used to laugh at. Something else, something dangerous. Because the ones who survive this world, the ones who make it out alive, they all learn the same lesson in the end. Kindness is a liability. Compassion is a weakness. And trust? Trust is the rope they'll use to hang you the second you stop being useful to them. But not anymore. Not for you. From now on, you make your own rules. You choose who gets a piece of you. And guess what? They don't. Not anymore. And that's going to kill them. Oh. They'll pretend it doesn't. They'll act like they don't care. Like losing you doesn't sting. Like they never needed you in the first place. But you and I both know the truth. People don't mourn the ones they loved. They mourn the ones they lost control over. And when they see you standing tall, when they realize they don't get to pull your strings anymore, that's when the real pain begins for them. Let them choke on it. Let them sit in the empty space you leave behind, knowing they will never get another chance to touch you again. And you just keep walking, keep going, keep becoming everything they said you'd never be. Because the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's proving they never even mattered. And here's the real beauty of it. When you disappear from their world, they'll rewrite history. They'll sit there, drowning in the silence you left behind, and they'll start changing the story in their heads. Suddenly, they weren't the ones who drained you, who broke you down piece by piece. No, they'll tell themselves a different version, one where they were the victim, one where you were the villain. That's what people do when they lose control over you. They don't just miss you, they have to make you the monster. Because the alternative, the truth is too much for them to stomach. That they took and took and took until there was nothing left, and now that you're gone, they have to sit with that. And it's unbearable. They'll whisper about you, tell people you changed, that you became cold and selfish, that you turned your back on them. But the ones who really pay attention, the ones who aren't fooled so easily, they'll see right through it. They'll see what's really happening. The panic, the regret, the quiet adoration clawing at the edges of their voice when they talk about you. Because deep down, they know they had you and they lost you. And that is something they will never, ever be able to fix. But that's not your problem anymore, is it? Your only job now is to keep moving forward. To make sure that not a single step you take is ever in their direction again. And don't fall for it when they come back, because they will. Oh, they'll come crawling. They always do. It might not be today, might not be tomorrow, but one day, when the weight of their choices finally settles in, when they realize they can't replace you, when they see that nothing they find will ever match what you gave them, they'll come knocking. A text, a call, a casual, "Hey, how have you been?" Like they didn't rip you to shreds the last time they had the chance. Ignore it. Leave them in the past, where they belong. Because if you let them back in, if you give them even a fraction of a second to sink their claws into you again, they'll do it all over. And this time, they'll make sure you don't get back up. So don't be stupid. Don't be sentimental. Don't be weak. Remember what they did. Not just the words, not just the action. Remember how it felt. That hollow, sinking feeling in your gut. That moment you realized you meant nothing to them. That instant where the truth hit you so hard, it almost took your breath away. Hold on to that feeling, because that's the only thing keeping you from ever going back. And you're never going back. And when it's all said and done, when enough time has passed, when the dust has settled, and the echoes of who you used to be have finally faded, you'll look back. Not with regret, not with longing, with clarity. You'll see every lie for what it was, every manipulation, every betrayal, every moment you let them have power over. It'll all be laid out in front of you like a crime scene, evidence of everything you survived. And you'll wonder how you ever let it happen, how you ever mistook their selfishness for love, how you ever thought you owed them forgiveness. Because now Now that you've crawled out of the wreckage, now that you've built yourself into something untouchable, something stronger than they ever expected you to be, you see it. You were never the weak one. They were. Weak people are the ones who take without giving, who manipulate instead of earn, who feed off of others because they have nothing inside themselves. Weak people drain. Strong people create. And you're a creator now, not just of yourself, but of your own damn world. One where they don't exist. One where their names carry no weight. Their voices are nothing more than static in the background. Their absence feels like peace instead of loss. That's the goal. Not to hurt them, not to destroy them, to erase them, to make them irrelevant. Because here's the truth, they never wanted you to figure out losing them was never the tragedy. It was the gift. And when they finally realize that, when they finally understand that their greatest punishment is not your hatred, not your vengeance, but your indifference, that's when the real suffering begins for them. Because while they're still out there, still playing their little games, still searching for someone else to fill the void, still clinging to the same tired cycle, you've already won. Because you got out. Because you walked away and never looked back. Because you became everything they were too afraid to be. And now you're untouchable. Now you are something beyond them, beyond their reach, beyond their understanding. You are something they will never be. Free. And that is the sweetest revenge of all. So go. Don't waste another second thinking about them. Don't waste another breath trying to understand them. Let the past rot. Let them rot with it. And you keep walking into the fire, into the unknown, into the future that is finally yours and yours alone. Because this story, it was never about them. It was always about you. And now it's time to live like it.